be found on our website, and it'll be posted to YouTube with a link as well. So you'll be able to revisit the meeting or any of the meeting notes from the presentation today. I'm just going to move on to our next point. Hopefully lots of you are interested in coming to our workshop or our conference that's coming up. That's taking place at the end of May, the 31st, out in Aurelia. We still have a call out for presenters for some different workshops. That's open till February 23rd. So if you are interested in presenting for a 2024 conference, that'd be great if you could pass your intentions on to our group so we can kind of decide who's going to be presenting for that. As far as that goes, and registration for the conference will open up the week of March 1st, and the cost is around the same as last year as far as trying to keep attendance up high, and so we have a nice group for socializing. So just at this time, just wondering if anybody has any additions or anything they would want to add to the agenda or discuss at this time. Just wait a few minutes. Looks like everybody's content with everything so far, so we'll move on. We do have a new opportunity that we're going to be sharing with you. There's a project that's called Apple Schools, kind of come from Calgary. Program started in 2007 and was the idea was to get kids in schools to be more health-minded. We do have one of their members. We have Lauren Walker with us today. She has been with the committee from 2011 to 2014, then took a break and has kind of come back now and is kind of spearheading a bit of a launch in the Ontario schools. So I just wanted to thank her for coming to present today, and I'm going to pass things over to Lauren. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to tell you a little bit more about Apple Schools and myself and what we're doing here in Ontario moving forward. This is my first meeting at the Ontario Healthy Schools Coalition, so I'm really excited to just be a part of the group. Yeah, I don't have it. To begin, we always like to start to acknowledge the First Nations and Inuit Métis people of British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, Northwest Territories, and now Ontario, who share a deep history and connection on the lands where our team lives, works, and plays. We dedicate ourselves to moving forward in partnership with our Indigenous communities in the spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We acknowledge that building these relationships with Indigenous and non-Indigenous people is a work of the heart, and it requires a certain humbling to allow our hearts and minds to accept new and sometimes challenging information and to act on it through privilege and transferring it to those who have less. The Apple Schools team is committed to moving forward in ongoing reflection of our allyship and to create an inclusive, safe, and understanding country for all of those who live on this land. So the question is, what is Apple Schools? And sometimes when we give this presentation, people say, don't you hand out iPads to kids? And it's not that Apple Schools. Apple Schools was started in 2007, just like Jeff said, as a research intervention project based out of the University of Alberta. And it started in 10 schools in the Edmonton area. And the question was, if we provide time, funding, and resources to schools, could we change the health behaviors in those kids? We ended up being successful and saw those behavior changes. And I'll talk a little bit more about those behavior changes and the success that we saw. And then in 2015, we became our own charitable foundation, so away from the university and a charitable foundation ourselves now. Now Apple Schools is an internationally recognized innovative school health promotion initiative, and we work with the vision of having healthy kids and healthy schools across Canada. We work in 100 schools across Alberta, Manitoba, British Columbia, and Northwest Territories, and soon to be Ontario. We're working to improve the lives of more than 30,000 students annually by improving their healthy eating, physical activity, and mental health habits. We work to address those three big barriers that were identified for schools, and those are time, funding, and ongoing support. So with our approach, we address these barriers by providing an in-school staff person for 3 years and then shifting to a volunteer role. And that person is called a school health facilitator, who works on helping to implement healthy eating, physical activity, and mental well-being strategies in the school. We also provide direct funding and resources to support schools with their wellness goals. And we provide mentorship and professional development opportunities for the schools as well. Apple Schools follows the comprehensive school health approach, and our team works with school communities to create a school-specific action plan that address their individual wellness goals. Each action plan is based on the unique needs of the school. So we don't say you need to do 10 things to become an Apple school. We really make it focused on what is needed for the school themselves. And we connect it always back to that comprehensive school health approach that I know you're quite familiar with. We are working with schools to create sustainable cultural changes. And we also say that once an Apple school, always an Apple school. We've had Apple schools that have signed on for the last 16 years and choose every year to become an Apple school. I spoke a little bit about the findings that we saw, but one of the really special things about Apple Schools is that it's rooted in evidence, and we have over 15 years of peer-reviewed research that demonstrates the positive impacts our organization has on sustainable health habits. This slide shows some of our statistics, and we were able to see increases in physical activity levels, improvements in mental health, and healthy eating habits. We didn't just do research that first little bit. We do continue to use research. And one of the things we were able to show is that for every $1 invested in an Apple school, it's $8.60 of healthcare costs that are saved in the future. The evidence that we're showing you is also unique because the health outcomes were improved regardless of inequalities of socioeconomic status, gender, or race. And we also found that these changes didn't just occur during the school hours, but they were also outside of school hours as well. If you love research, we have all of our research posted on our website, which I'll share later. We don't just use the data collected in the schools to inform the broader community, though. We really have a cyclical approach to research. So we provide each school that begins with us with their own school-specific data to help inform their action plans and to provide insights into their own students' health behaviors. And then Apple Schools also receives the data for all of our schools that are surveyed as a cohort, and we use that for implementation to make sure that there's appropriate resources and training available if there are any gaps we see in the research from our students. And then we also use to share with the scientific and health communities at large. We're really proud to say that we are a proven and internationally recognized project. And what makes us unique is that we work with vulnerable school health populations or vulnerable school populations on helping to improve those health habits. We've worked in 4, and now we will get to say 5 different provinces in a mix of urban, rural, fly-in communities, and a variety of school jurisdictions. We focus on all areas and aspects of health, and we provide on-the-ground support through that school health facilitator. And we use that research to inform all areas of our work. We're really excited to be expanding into Ontario. Here you can see that we are mostly a Northern Alberta project, but we're starting to spread nationally. And so we have some schools that are spread out. We've opened some new schools in Southern Alberta, and then we're working to have 6 schools in Ontario open up very shortly. Now, this slide is a little bit busy, but it takes you through the process that Apple Schools follows to build that healthy school culture we were talking about. We really believe in relationships and having a good start to our partnership. So in that readiness phase, we work really closely with school divisions to identify, hire, and train school health facilitators and collect that baseline data so that schools are ready to begin in September. In years 2 to 3, we provide funding for a 0.5 school health facilitator who is already a member of the school community. We work with them to create a school-specific action plan that brings a shift in culture to the school. As well, we provide additional mentorship, funding, and support each year. After these initial years at 0.5, we shift to a 0.2 role, And then we provide that gradual release of control that we use in the classroom, but we provide it for schools. So they work 0.5, 0.5, 0.2, and then release to a champion model. For years 4 and beyond, in that champion model, we continue to support the school culture that was built during the implementation phase. And we also continue to support with mentorship, PD, and a small amount of funding every year. As we are all champions for school health here, I'm sure you have some ideas of what might be implemented. And I mentioned that Apple Schools isn't a checklist and it's not a binder. So what you see in one Apple School might be really different from what you see in another Apple School, depending on the needs of that school community or the action plan goals that they've set out. However, we know that we want our schools to be implementing a variety of different things. So that you can see some ideas. Here are some things that we ask schools to look at. We don't want them to make huge changes right away. We know that that's not great for buy-in. So we ask schools to apply a health lens to what they're already doing and to start to think, how can we make sure that we are showing that we're a healthy school through modeling that healthy lifestyle. There's an example that I wanted to share for one of our schools. So we went into a school community that was had such a difficult time. They had canceled recess. There was no more recess because students were getting into fights over soccer and they weren't able to play safely. So there was no school recess, and the students were inside all day. And when we entered that school, we worked really hard with the school community, and the school health facilitator worked really hard to learn and help the students to figure out how they can play successfully outside at recess. After those implementation years, recess was back on, kids were enjoying it. And then when we were in that champion model, the mentor that worked with that school also helped them write a grant to get running shoes for that school. And it's really great because what we saw was that that school that had no recess didn't just identify that, yes, now recess is important. They said recess is important and our kids can't participate effectively because they don't have correct shoes to actually be outside playing. And so they put in this grant and were able to receive grant money to get shoes for kids who didn't have them so that they could participate. Take it a step further, last year, they also found that their kids were now playing outside, enjoying recess time, being more physically active, but their socks would get muddy and dirty. And I think we've all smelt the stinky stench of a boot room at the end of the year. And so instead of saying, oh, now it's too dirty and we've got shoes, but they're not the right kind of shoes, they started putting in a clean sock initiative. So one of the initiatives that the school did was they had bins of clean socks, and kids could leave their dirty socks, pick up clean socks, put them on so that they could learn that school day. And then one of the EAs, one of their jobs was to run a laundry load and put the socks out again. And so there was that rotation of socks. That's just a small story to share with you the change over time. We went from no recess to identifying that recess is important, and it's so important we have to play even when it's muddy, but let's find that opportunity for the students to also still feel comfortable and be able to learn. We follow an annual cycle that helps schools to create a shared vision and action plan. And we're really close to finalizing a shared position with OFIA. And I know we have some OFIA members here, and we're very excited. The OFIA person who is hired will be working locally to lead the Ontario schools. And we know that OFIA is a really trusted organization within the Ontario context. And so it's really key for us to ensure we're adapting what we do in the Northern Alberta context, adapting it to the Ontario context. And so this partnership is going to really best support the schools that we're working with in Ontario. We always share that we are guided by a board of directors. And so this is our group of directors. And if you're looking for more information on Apple Schools, you can stay up to date with what we're doing by following us on our social media channels or signing up for our newsletter. And you can also provide any of the free resources. We have a ton of monthly campaigns and energizers and fitness circuits that you can download for free that are available to everybody. And those are all on our website. Often when we do these presentations, people watch and think, okay, well, this is great, but what's the catch? How much does this cost? And we're really proud to say that there is no catch. There is no cost to our schools and to our school divisions. We have a group of donors like Interpipeline, Canadian Natural, St. Michael's Hospital Foundation, Staples, the Calgary Flames Foundation, the Leap Pico Center for Social Impact, and they all believe that focusing on the health of students is key to our future. So almost all of the funding that we have is through private donors, and they make it possible for us to support 100 schools in doing this work. I'll leave this newsletter up because the next one is questions, but if you'd like to be part of our newsletter, we share resources and grants and lots of different pieces that you can learn. And we have a monthly newsletter for parents as well if you're looking to support your own children. That's my presentation about Apple Schools, but I wanted to open up the floor for any questions and be able to share anything or clarify anything if you were thinking questions while I was going through this presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. Kelly, I see your hand up.
Hi, I'm just sorry, just unmuting here. Kelly Ferrugia from the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit. And it's interesting, we have a provincial network of school health, public health managers with the Ministry of Education, and Apple Schools just came up at our last meeting. So it's very timely that you're presenting. I do have a question about your data. You said you gathered baseline data from schools. I know, do you have a data sharing agreement kind of provincially, or how? That's one of the real impediments here, I think, is having access to school-based data, or do they do one of your surveys in order to get that data?
So we work with, that's a great question. Thank you for clarifying or for asking that clarifying question. We work with a research group out of the University of Alberta and University of Toronto. So we actually don't collect the data ourselves. It's data that the surveys are through the universities, go through the university's ethics and then through the school divisional ethics as well. And then the data comes to us. So it's it's surveys that are for our schools, but then used and made sure that it is valid and academically sound as well.
And so would Ontario, the other provinces, do they go through the same, in Alberta, the same institution for the data collection? And
yes, so it would still go through the universe, any ones that are associated with Apple Schools. And feel free to send me an email so we can chat about a little more detail about how we go through that process. But yes, the University of Alberta and University of Toronto, they work together for this.
Okay.
And so it's go through both organizational ethics and then through the school division ethics as well.
Great. And just one more question and then I'll get off. You mentioned identifying vulnerable schools. How do you identify the vulnerable schools?
Perfect question. We get this one a lot. We just identify an area, a school board or school jurisdiction based on often by our donors. They say like, we're interested in this area. And then we work with the school division to choose those vulnerable school populations based on, they know their schools the best. And so we put that in their hands. We give them a criteria saying it needs to be a vulnerable school, a few other criteria pieces, and then they choose the school based on their definition of what vulnerability looks like. And it can be anything from socioeconomic status, single parent households, families that don't speak English as a first language. And sometimes it's a compilation, but it depends on what the school jurisdiction chooses as vulnerability criteria.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Hi, Yvette.
Hi. I really enjoyed your presentation, and it's nice to see that there's some funding for the champion, because I think that person is really important, and
Yes.
to have that a long-term relation, and 3 years makes perfect sense to me. My question is, do you have any resources for French first language schools? You're going to become working with OFIA we have many schools in Ontario, and I just wondered if you currently had any resources or experience with the French first language schools in Alberta.
The answer is no. And that is a big gap for our organization and an area that we've identified where we need to have more resources. But at this time, our resources, unfortunately, are all in English. But we are looking into how we can make sure that they're translated effectively, because we would like to have the opportunity to go into some more French speaking schools.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Stephanie?
Hi, and nice
Hi.
to see you again, Lauren. Thanks for the update. I'm curious. So Yvette just mentioned partnership with OFIA, and I think you had mentioned University of Toronto as another partner. I'm curious, with your move into Ontario, can you share a little bit about what that looks like, the approach that you're taking? Do you have partnerships established? Is that building? You can tell I'm very curious, but I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Sure. The first piece is that, yes, we are moving into Ontario. We are partnering with Durham District School Board to begin with. As some of our funding was based in urban populations, and that was a school division that had some interest. We're moving into 6 schools to begin with. And so we're just in the process, that readiness phase that I talked about, of working with principals in schools and getting those school health facilitators hired. So I don't have 100%, I can't give you all the details, but our very first, whenever we move into another province, our first stop is the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education. So we first ensured that we shared with them what we were doing and got, a blessing to move forward, because we know anytime we go into a new jurisdiction, we want to make sure that we are following all the proper channels. And then we did some partnering with OFIA to make sure that we understood that Ontario context and the landscape, and then reached out to school divisions and had shared a little bit. And Durham was one of the ones that came back to us, and we've been able to now move forward in moving into 6 schools. We do I'm seeing some interest, and there's some excitement building in Ontario, which is really exciting. And we do have an expression of interest on our page, on our website. So if there are school divisions that are interested and they want to sign up and say, yes, we would be interested in having you come, we don't go into school divisions or into schools until we have guaranteed funding, because we don't want to charge schools or school jurisdictions anything. But we keep that list, because once we have donors, or when we're linking up, we try our best to go back to our list first and see who still has some interest.
And quick follow-up question, Lauren, thank you for that. The partnership with OFIA, so in the schools that you're going to be working with, is that so in the comprehensive school health model, are you tying it to OFIA's healthy school certification anyway? Is it a separate process? Just curious what that looks like.
They work and align together very well. The healthy school certification process, when we look at it, it follows the same yearly cycle. There's so many pieces that fit together. And so it will be our goal to, in Ontario, have those schools also become part of the healthy school certification and let them know that that's available. The difference for us is I think we're more intensive and are able to work more deeply and in those vulnerable school populations where they don't have the time or capacity to work on it with the same level. And so I think that we are the healthy school certification is amazing for all schools. And then what Apple Schools is we deepen and we provide that depth and breadth towards healthy school culture that isn't available as easily with the healthy school certification, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Julia, you had a question?
Hi, yes. I have a question about the school health facilitator. I'm just wondering if there's any criteria for like who that can be, whether it has to be a staff member or if it can be like a community member, a guardian.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I can tell you over time, we've had changes in our model because we are a research-based organization. We used to provide external people who came into the school and worked in the school community. And we learned that the best way to make change is for the school health facilitator to be somebody who knows the school community. So often that is a teacher or an EA, or sometimes even an administrative assistant from the school. However, we have had school health facilitators that that one was a bus driver who was really well respected and able to then drive the bus into school, work in the school community, and then drove the bus home with all the kids. And we've had even a grandma who worked who was a big elder in her Indigenous community in that school. She was the one who took the school health facilitator role. So it's not, we don't have a specific job title or we have a job description, but really people often ask, like, what degree do you need to be a school health facilitator? And our answer is always a degree in relationships, and that doesn't exist. So you have to be really good at that piece of bringing people on board, gathering voices, building relationships, gaining buy-in, and those are the main criteria. So it's pretty loose, which is sometimes tricky for schools because schools know schools, but if there is a crossing guard who would be a good fit, if it makes sense, we are open to having them be hired as a school health facilitator. So we don't have a lot of specific requirements, just that good at building relationships, a member of the community, and able to help with that buy-in.
Awesome. Thank you. I just have one other question, if I could ask. I'm wondering if you're able to share the funding that schools like typically receive. I feel like that's the most kind of common question is about funding.
100%. So once our schools are identified, they sign on to a commitment agreement saying, yes, we want to be an Apple school, and we provide them with a funding request form. Typically at this point, up until, and for the last 15 years, we've been able to provide support to all of our schools. When the schools first start with implementation, that first year, they receive $1,500 plus $2 per student. We lower that to $1,000 in year 2. And then in year 3 and onward, we provide $500 per school plus $2 per student. So it's not a lot, but it's a small amount that creates some buy-in, and it can only be used on health and wellness initiatives in the school. And we know that that's hard to find funding that is just for health and wellness. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Lauren, I think we just got one more question from Stephanie, and we should kind of continue with the meeting things.
Perfect. Thanks for all of the wonderful questions. They've been really great.
Hi, thank you. I just have a question based on what you were just speaking about with the healthy coordinators in the school. So I'm in Northern Ontario, and an issue that we've had here since the pandemic is high staff turnover. So I'm just wondering if you have any models or lessons learned to keep momentum for programs like this going when you have a high turnover of staff, because that's something that we've seen with the champion model in our area, is when you lose the champion, things tend to fall apart.
That's a really great question. And that is something that we struggle with. We have worked in a lot of northern communities, and it was a struggle for us as well. So please know that you're not alone. It is something that we've had some concern for sure. We know that schools in their health and wellness have ebbs and flows, and that often comes with the staff that are in the school buildings. One of the things that we found really successful is when schools or school divisions have healthy policies as part of what they do. So a lot of our positive outcomes that we found is when schools are hiring new staff, as part of their interview process, they share, we are a healthy school and we do these few things. How would that relate, or how could you work that into your classroom, or what would that look like for you, or is this something that you feel would align with your values? And so they are asking their staff as they come in and come on board. They put it as part of their staff handbook that when a staff comes on, and so that way it becomes part of what they talk about when they are onboarding staff, and it's part of that creating that school culture. Like, this is who we are as a school, and this is important to us. And so then it's kind of, it's embedded into that school policy piece. And so it continues on a little bit more readily than if you don't have that built in. I hope that helps a little bit. There's not really the best, I don't have a best case scenario or a best solution, but that is one thing that we've seen has helped with the initiatives continuing with momentum, is making sure that the staff are aware and understand what it means to be a healthy school at their school before hiring or bringing staff on board.
Awesome. Great. So if you get a chance, I did put the website just in the chat box there, but if you can take a look at that website, there you can see there's a bunch of different resources and ideas if you are interested a bit more. The presentation will also be shared. It'll be on the website within the next probably few days, maybe after the weekend as well, if you wanted to look at that a little bit further. So again, thanks, Lauren, for presenting today. I'm just going to do some updates, and our first update is from Ophia. So I see Andrea's here and Selena, so I'm not sure who wants to take the floor, but if you guys want to jump in, and again, excited to have you here as well.
Hi, Jeff. It's going to be me, Selena. I'll be providing the updates. Thank you for the opportunity for Ophia to provide the updates. We really like this opportunity to showcase all the amazing work that our team has done. Also, we've been receiving a few questions around Apple Schools. More information will come on the partnership. We'll definitely let folks know if you have any questions for Ophia as well too. In terms of Ophia February updates, I'm just going to read off my list here of some of the things the team has shared. So we do have a substance use education survey. PHE Canada, Ophia, Everactive Schools, and Circle Labs are working together to create resources and materials to mobilize the Public Health Agency of Canada's Blueprint for Action, a tool for school communities to prevent substance-related harms. So this survey will help to determine the key audiences and messages for these new resources and materials. The survey is a short survey, about 5 minutes to complete, and the deadline is February 26th. I'll share the link in the chat box, and Arlene and Jeff will also share these updates to you as well to share with the group. So there's the link to the survey. As a reminder, it's due February 26th, and please feel free to share this link with other members in the education community across Canada. Moving on, the Ophia 2023-2024 awards nomination deadline is coming up next month, March 25th. Can't believe it's March already, next week. Each year, Ophia recognizes the contributions of leaders in the field of child and youth health and well-being. If you know of an individual, group, or organization who is making an outstanding contribution in the areas of health and physical education, health and physical activity promotion, advocacy, or community development, nominate them for an Ophia award. I'll also share the links in the chat. All right, there's 2 links here. So the deadline for the nomination is March 25th. I also wanted to mention some recent and upcoming resource launches. So first we have the culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy in health and physical education. So this resource has been launched, and it supports health and physical education educators in implementing culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy strategies alongside their existing practices, and identifies strategies to co-create inclusive, affirming learning environments for every student. Also share the link. I'm sharing a lot of links with you today. Another resource is the Stop, Start, Consider, student-centered practices in health and physical education. So here we have our first poster series, Stop, Start, Consider, doing gender inclusive physical education and sport. This was developed in partnership with Gigi on gender, and we will have another series coming, and this collection will be released in March, and it will focus on disabilities. Lastly, a few updates on Ophia's learning, networking, and audience engagement session updates. So we had our gender identity and gender expression policy clinic for school boards. So this was our first pilot with 8 Ontario school boards. This pilot is almost complete. There were 3 learning sessions and coaching consultation support. A second round of learning and engagement for school boards on this topic will be offered up in early April. We have a event coming up, sector convening on school sport. So in partnership with the MLSE Launchpad on March 1st, Ophia is bringing together sport, education, academia, and youth to discuss the realities of sport and intramural participation in our schools, and to reimagine a purpose that centers student belonging and equity. And lastly, our Centering Black Youth Experiences in Health and Wellbeing in our schools. This will be a facilitated engagement on March 28th, centering Black youth experiences and health and well-being in our schools. The Center for Excellence for Black Student Achievement at the Toronto District School Board and OFIA are collaborating to create a space for Black students to come together to discuss challenges, resistance, and joy experienced in health and well-being at school. Those were a lot of updates. As I mentioned, I'll share this back with Jeff and Arlene to circle back to the group to review the resources on your own time. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome. Thanks, Selena. Next up, we have a group. We have Kim Gillespie. She's from Sierra, Ontario. That's the Canadian Intramural Recreation Association. That organization does quite a neat things for kids as far as providing games and activities, inclusive movement opportunities. And so I'm going to pass this over to Kim. I know she's here somewhere. So Kim is a colleague as well of mine. I do volunteer with Sierra as well. So this is kind of a newer partnership we're starting to include Sierra in some of our meetings and so share some of our fun activities. Kim, you there? Your crickets.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go. Awesome.
Oh, okay. Now, can you see me? I'm trying to be seen.
Can't see it yet, but I would like to.
Oh, you would. Hang on. I'm not sure. It's not working.
Well, Kim's fiddling with that, so I'll just keep kind of talking. Hopefully, I don't go over what Kim's going to share, but Sierra does provide a lot of resources. Some of the latest ones we put out definitely address social emotional learning activities. So activities where kids can kind of learn their communication skills, listening skills, teamwork skills. Another resource that we put out recently is team building. Kim was actually one of the authors on that resource. So again, just sharing ideas with kids and with teachers or educators, camp counselors on how to help kids work together. So fun ways to do that through a variety of physical movements and activities. So Sierra's been around for a long time. Hopefully we can keep continuing doing inclusive resources. And if you are interested, we have a conference coming up on April 20th. There's some more information on our website as well. And I'm sure Kim might share some of that with us as well. Still no camera, Kim?
Still no camera. I was trying, and I really wanted you to see because we started our circus unit today. And so I stayed in my circus gear, and that's what I was going to share, but I just can't seem to. I'm using a school computer, so maybe that's why, which actually inhibits my first game. But I'm going to share my screen anyways, and we'll just kind of work with what we can work with, I guess, right?
Awesome.
Kim, it's Arlene in the background. I made you a co-host to see if that will help with your camera.
Let's try. There you go. Okay, it's working. Hi, welcome to the circus. This is it. I'm also trying to share my screen, Jeff.
Okay.
And I apologize for not being able to, but I'm not too sure why.
You're doing great.
But are you able to see it?
Not yet.
No, okay.
You should be able to as a co-host. It's Arlene in the background.
Okay, thanks. I do want to share my entire screen or a window. How about that? Looking like Chrome tab. Sorry to keep everybody waiting. Is that working?
Yeah, you're good there.
Okay, and oh, but now you're seeing me, and I want to see this.
Perfect.
All right, are you seeing the screen now? Okay, I can't see me, which might hurt our game. But this is me. My name is Kim Gillespie. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me and Sierra to be attending these meetings. And this is the first, so I think I'll use it more as an introduction to myself, to Sierra, and I do have a few updates first, but a little bit about me. I teach within the Waterloo Region District School Board. I am a Sierra executive member. Jeff, thanks for telling a little bit about that. won a few different awards. We present across the country, and one of our most recent books is one I did co-write, and it's called Teamwork Builds Community. So realizing that that is really important. It was completed just prior to COVID, but we actually held on to it until after. And it's been quite successful since COVID with trying to build that community within schools, increase a sense of belonging for all. Couple things that make my school the school that it is. First of all, it's Clemens Mill Public School. And a couple of things that I'm super proud of that have contributed to our culture at Clemens Mill. One is a wellness garden. And so we took an area of 2 courtyards actually, but I'll speak to one in particular, and turned it from this bit of a mess where it wasn't being utilized, a great outdoor space that is really accessible to all, but just wasn't being utilized, into something that the kids, the staff, teachers, everybody can go into to kind of regroup, you know, and take that body break if they need it, get outside, get some fresh air. This day that we opened this initiative within our courtyard was called the Only One You Day. And it started in the gym with an assembly reading the book called Only One You. And if you know of another book, there's another book called Ishi in there that we read to the whole school. They then proceeded to go back to their classrooms, each of them painting a rock that you can see in the top right side of the screen that would be placed within this wellness garden. So again, there's 2, one in the primary end, that's this one in the intermediate end, and it's basically representing our whole school community and that everybody has a place and belongs at our school. Second thing that I'm especially proud of is a sensory pathway. I'm going to let the video hopefully play just in the background there. But we put a sensory pathway in based on the Don't Walk in the Hallways initiative that was initially put out in the board of, I think it's Calgary Board of Ed. Took that upon ourselves, created all the stenciling, laid it down, and then sure enough, released it the day after March break, because it took a lot of March break to put it together. And the kids loved it. It's almost like if you build it, they will come. That was sort of the gist that we were going for there. So moving right along, I was told we were maybe going to play a game. Is that still true, Jeff?
Yeah, we can.
Do we have time? Or?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I can't see anybody else's cameras, but maybe turn your cameras on if you feel comfortable. Create that sense of community of everybody being here. And we're going to play rock, paper, scissors. So a rock really on your platform, a fist. Paper is flat, scissors is this. And I'll talk more about Sierra in a minute, but this is what we do is gamify activities for everybody. Now, you're going to be playing against me. So if you beat me, you are the champion, and I want you to think about something today that you are grateful for, okay? If you play me and you are the challenger, meaning that you didn't win this one and you're ready to challenge again, you're going to do some type of jacks. They can be jumping jacks, chicken jacks, gyno jacks, sitting down jacks, whatever jacks you would like. If we end in a tie, take some water, be healthy, rehydrate. All right? Going like this. So hopefully you're standing up. I can't see you, but I'm going to stand up. Here we go. Ready? Get your platform and rock, paper, scissors, go. I did paper. If you did scissors, say something you're grateful for to yourself. If you did rock, do some jacks. If you tied me, take a water break. We're going to play 2 more rounds of this. Get your platform ready. Here we go. Ready and rock, paper, scissors, go. I'm scissors. Figure out which one you're going to do. I'm going to assume there's a tie out there somewhere and take a drink of water myself. All right, 3rd time. Get it ready. Platforms out and rock, paper, scissors, go. I'm rock. Figure out what you are. Something you're grateful for. Do some jacks. Take a water break. If you'd rather do one of the other ones, that's okay too. All right. Thanks for playing along. I assume you did. I know, Jeff, you would have for sure. So Sierra Ontario, our motto is fun, active participation for all. And we really do try to gamify our activities. And then I'll talk a bit more about our activities in a minute, and create active participation for all, meaning that we are very proud of the fact that we're inclusive for all. A number of our resources, games, workshops, we really do try to impact a wide variety of people and include them all. I'm going to switch to a different tab. Jeff, you can confirm if you receive this. We have been featured on CHCH, so I'm just going to play this for a few seconds and give you an idea of what we do. Can you see that, Jeff?
Not yet.
No, okay. All right, I'm going to assume if you can't see it, then it's
I
not
can
going.
see your screen, but there's no like where it says CHCH in the corner on the bottom.
Right, so I've switched to that, share this tab instead. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Kim was the person with the pool noodle and is out of breath.
A little out of breath.
Yeah, but very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
So what's your background?
Physical and health education teacher.
Okay.
I teach in Waterloo region, and I live in Cambridge.
Nice. So
yeah.
shout out to the school.
Yeah,
School?
Clemensville Public School,
Awesome.
elementary school.
Elementary school. So that's K to 8.
It is.
So you're always trying to come up with new ideas and new games to keep them active and keep these young minds
keep them
going.
engaged, keep them moving, keep them academically focused, but using those body breaks to kind of refresh and reset them and get them back ready to learn too.
All right, I'm going to switch back again, hopefully, Jeff. There we go. So with Sierra Ontario, just kind of what I said there too, we have basically with our fun, active participation for all, that's what we are hoping to achieve. Now with the summer series, that was programmed more so for recreation leaders in the summertime, but we do a lot of physical education, workshops, leadership activities for teachers, but then we're also reaching out to a variety of different organizations and people as well. Just going to briefly then go over our website, which should be on the screen right now. I think, Jeff, I'm counting on you to tell me if that's what we're doing. So this is our Sierra Ontario website. And just going to do a little bit about Sierra first of all. We are a registered charitable organization. Our mission is to encourage, promote, and develop active living, healthy lifestyles, and personal growth through intramural and recreation programs within education and recreational communities. So as we go through the website, things that Sierra believes in, and again, we do really try to promote inclusivity, being dynamic, diversified, activities and games for all. Our mission is down below, healthy and safe participation, and a gain for all. We have a variety of publications that have been written by current and past Sierra members. So not that I'm encouraging you to buy, but just so you have an idea of what we do, creating a number of resources, Scooters and Hoops, great games, Fair and Square, Any Game for Any Brain, which was a more recent one, which was for, let's just see if we can get that a bit bigger. Inclusive resources for those with cognitive differences, all the way from youth to seniors. Teamwork builds community, again, building community back up after COVID in particular. Eye of the Storm, games for inclement weather. Active Playgrounds, which is an older book, and that's one of the ones that we have just about finished creating a new edition called Activate Your Playground, and that will be our next book that comes out or is published, we're hoping by May. As I'm not sure if Jeff said this while I was trying to fiddle around with my my video too, but we have a global games, which is kind of our contribution, worldwide games, and acknowledging the CRRP pedagogy within it. And then we also have one that we're currently working on called, or at least tentatively called, Redefining Intramurals. So those are some of the resources that we have. Similar to what Ophia was saying earlier, we also have awards that we give out for exceptional programming. We have a bursary award. You can see last year's recipients, but we have a variety of individual awards too. So you can take a look at those if you feel like there's somebody that would be recognized in one of those areas. But our kind of pride and joy are our intramural awards. So any school that offers a variety of intramural activities, promoting fun, active, inclusive extracurriculars, and involves students too in a leadership capacity is kind of what we're looking for there. We do have different workshops that might be in events. A variety of different workshops that we do for, again, clientele of all ages, school, a lot of recreational programming that comes out just prior to summer, wellness retreats. And our newer one is SHISM, which is Specialist High Skills Majors, and that we're doing workshops for. Last thing I really kind of want to say is we have a conference coming up in April 20th. You can see it on the screen there. It's our spring conference. In the past, pre-COVID, because that always seems to be the catch there, we were doing a 2-day conference with an overnight once a year. We've now kind of got into more one-day conference. We had a very successful fall conference on the west side of Toronto. This one is moving a little bit to the north of Toronto now. It will show you down here. Huron Heights Secondary School in Newmarket is where this conference will be. Immersive workshops, you kind of learning by doing. Great networking, because there's always so many fantastic colleagues, people there that you can network with. So if you are able to, please spread the word. We're excited about that and looking for more registrations. And I'm going to just go back to my other slide here. Share this tab instead. And there's kind of our promo. So you can find us on our website, obviously. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we're promoting that. If you're able to share, that would be great. If you can come out, that's fantastic. And I know we are looking forward and hoping to make some partnerships or grow our partnerships with other organizations. So please reach out if you have any questions or if I can help in any way.
Awesome. Thanks, Kim, so much. So as Kim was mentioning, like in a few weeks, I'm putting on a workshop on a Saturday morning for the Boys and Girls Club of Niagara to kind of prep some of the leaders for their March break camp. So just sharing ideas that have minimal equipment, lower games, but still the idea of social emotional learning, team building skills, kind of all wrapped in into those games, and then having some discussions about that after. So again, Kim, I just wanted to thank you for coming out and bragging about Sarah and sharing about that as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll make next time an update instead of a little lesson.
No, this is great. This is great. Thanks so much. So just a reminder for those involved, just another call for our conference that's taking place May 30th and May 31st in Aurelia. Like I said, the registration opens up on March the 1st. We're still gathering some presenters, and we'll be kind of responding back to those and kind of hooking up our keynote speakers and anyone else who would like to share for our conference. So this is almost kind of wrapping up our meeting for today. We are heading to the 4:25 time, and just to be respectful of everybody's time, just wondering if there's any other things to discuss or any questions before we kind of wrap up and say goodbye for today. So I'll just wait a second or two. Awesome. So again, just wanted to thank everybody that came today. Thanks, Lauren and Selena and Kim, that all shared some of their wisdom and knowledge and excitement for healthy schools and comprehensive school health, and look forward to working together in the next little bit. So we'll wrap things up there, and just want to thank everybody for coming. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy.